Hello guys, welcome to the channel. So today we are going to talk about events and ABAP report. So there are various events like for example classical report events are there, initialization, add selection screen, start of selection, end of selection, top of page is there and then end of page and there are many more. And in the interactive report event, some of the events are like adds line selection, add user command, add PF status, top of page during line selection, which is basically your top event for secondary list. So now let's get started. And in the last video, we talked about some control condition statement, like for example, if else if, and then we also talked about do and do loop, and in the other program we also learned about the case and case statement. So now let's quickly see the events in a ABAP report. So first of all, we will talk about the initialization event. So you make use of it like this. For example, initialization you are entering here, and then you can basically this event will not give you any output, but yeah, it can be you can make use of this when you want to initialize some value at the start of your program. For example, I am declaring some variable here, lv underscore, and temp, for example, type char 10 you can say, and then this lv underscore temp variable I can pass here and give some value here. Example, you can car, you can mention for example, save it and try to activate it, and let's put some breakpoints. So this initialization will be triggered before the selection screen appears. So let's try to execute it, and it will automatically uh, trigger your initialization event, and the breakpoint stops here itself only. So we are initialization, for example, we are initializing value lv temp equal to some field car. So if you just press F5, it will fill the value with car. Just come out from this by using F7, and let's try to execute again. It's I think we skipped that part, and let's try to execute again. Let's do the F5, and or you can do directly the F6 as well. So as it's an initialization event, because so we are not able to see that output, but what we can do to see its output is like let's check the start of selection event. Maybe then we can see that start of selection, and then we can write here like write, and value of lv underscore temp is, and then you can pass it here lv underscore temp, right? Just try to do pretty printer and do the syntax check here and try to activate it. And now let's put also a breakpoint here with start of selection event, and now let's execute it. It will stop here. It will initialize the value lv underscore time with car value. If we execute it, and now if we execute our report, it will trigger the start of selection event here. And now if you see, the lv temp is as value car because we make use of initialization event here. If you just do F5 here, and you will see on the output the required output, like value of lv temp is car. So just go back and let's try to do it. Will again, as we are pressing back, it will again call your event initialization and will fill with value again. Now let's do quick back again, and next is your add selection screen event, right? We already discussed in our previous program, which is basically used when the user input in the selection screen, after the user has input in the selection screen, the activation process begin. So this event validates user input before executing the program. So the selection screen will be active when the user input has been processed. So add selection screen is like this only. Then there is a start of selection that we already discussed. Similarly, there is a end of selection as well. End of selection event. End of selection. So let's do the pretty printer thing and try to write something here. Write and end of selection event triggered. Try to activate it and now execute it. Remove the breakpoint from here. We can just put the breakpoint here only. Try to execute it and just try to execute again. It will stop at selection screen. It will print it and then do the fit again. It will come to end of selection because it's the end of selection. So let's quickly execute it. So you will see the different outputs. First is start of selection and then is end of selection. You can go back and just do and remove the breakpoints here. Now next is your top of page and end of page. So top of page basically comes into the picture when you want to write some data at the top of a page. Suppose if you want to print something at here, like this particular area will be fixed, and then below your output should start. So top of page event will come into picture in that way. Similarly, there is end of page. Suppose you want to print something at the end of your output. Example, let's execute it, and you want to print something at the end of page. You can use end of page event. So similarly, top of page output can come here, and then in between your further output can come on the selections here, the output tab. Now let's talk about at line selection event. So at line selection event is triggered when we double click on the list and a new sublist will be generated. So if the statement has been returned, we can found in the newly generated sublist. So this is basically a part of interactive report event at line selection, and then there is a add user command as well. The user function keys are provided by this event, and then there is a add pf status, which is basically your predefined function keys. For example, if you can see here, this is also a part of PF status only. So here you will see there are multiple buttons like activate, execute, and delete as well. Debugging button is there. So this is part of your add PF status. So when you click on this, you will be get to see like what button has been clicked. So using that add PF status event, you can identify it. Now then there is a top of page during line selection. So top of it during live selection comes into the picture. Suppose you have a two display reports like for list reports. Like for example, first is your primary list, and then your is secondary list. So when you click on your primary list some variable, and you want to double click, and then your secondary list gets open, and then here you will want to print at the top of the page some output. So in that case, you can make use of top page during line selection event. So that is all about the events in ABAP report. We learned about classical report events and then interactive report events we talk about. So yeah, that's it guys. So thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you.